Okay. So Richie has really kindly agreed to talk to us about his experiences with ADHD. I guess one of the things I was wondering about is why you might want to do this video, why you thought it might be a good idea.
Uh, Purely because like, I went most of my life without being diagnosed, and I lived a childhood thinking I was just a naughty kid who was a complete idiot. And as an adult, I've met loads of people in my job, previous and current, who have similar symptoms, or kids who have similar symptoms. So I thought if I can put it out there to someone from the point of view of someone who's got a full-time self-employed job, has managed to hold down a job for so many years, it might help people understand that it's not the end of the world to have this diagnosis, and also it's real. It's not just a naughty kid syndrome.
Yeah. So you're a personal trainer now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Um, so when we're talking about like ADHD, I guess that might mean different things to different people. What would you say? Like, what is it like for you? How would you describe it?
Noise. As an adult, I would say it's noise. Everything in my life, like that I see, that I hear, my environment all provides just input. It's constant input, and it's sometimes the inability to be able to decide which input you want to pay attention to. Like I've said it to people, as a description. Imagine inside my head is a huge hall with thousands and thousands of Richies, and they are all screaming their own individual thoughts. Some of them are impulsively led, some of them logically led, but I struggle to pick out that one voice I need to listen to. And if I don't have a controlled environment in some way, like if I'm surrounded by a messy environment or somewhere I'm not used to, then my ability to focus gets less and less, and I'm more likely to act on impulse rather than logically. And then when I act on the impulse, it just makes me feel like crap, and then I spiral down into a bit of a depression and start to feel crap about myself. That's
Okay.
generally it, I think.
Okay. Um, I mean, you said just then that like that's what it's kind of like as an adult. Um,
Yeah.
and obviously this is something that has been around since since you were a kid. What was the kind of first thing that maybe you noticed about perhaps things being a bit different to maybe other kids, or how was it like as a child?
Yeah, I never really felt like I related to anyone as a kid. You try to fit in because you need friends as a child, but it was always hanging around with people and going like, well, yeah, I get on with you, but I don't know, even though everyone always thinks there's something different about them, but I never felt like I was really on the same wavelength. I tried to include myself by doing the same stuff, but I wasn't into football and I wasn't into anything that generally kids were into. I found that my tastes were more, um, I don't know, like logic puzzles and books and things that required so much focus that I had to be mindful, and I excluded everything else. And I think that as a kid, it was one because I really didn't have a high opinion of myself, and I thought that most kids didn't like me. Um, I was bullied as well, so that that just made me think there's something not right here. But I didn't get diagnosed until I was in my early 20s, so I went through my whole childhood and teenage years just thinking I was a complete idiot and being told by teachers and everything else that no, you don't really pay attention. You need to put in more effort. You're not doing the best you can do.
Okay, so more like it was you not trying or being naughty or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like as a young kid, in junior school and stuff, I felt like I wasn't like I said, I wasn't like everyone else. To quote the Kinks, I'm not like everyone else. But as I got older and older, when I joined senior school, I just felt that this this isn't right at all. Something has to change here, and that's when I started to find music, and I made friends through music, and that sort of spoke to me more than football and computer games and hanging around with your mates.
Okay. So I guess we'll probably come back to the music thing just because I think that's obviously quite an important thing. But just in terms of like the kind of story and the timeline and stuff, what sort of happened to you like when you left school? Like how did what's the journey sort of from there?
Yeah, well, like when I went through school, as I was going through my GCSEs, some of my exams I was so convinced I just couldn't remember anything in the exam. I'd left whole exam papers blank. Um, when I did my A levels, I dropped out of Spanish because I thought I'd be completely stupid at it. I would never pass it, even though I'd done an exchange plan and lived with a Spanish family and spoken nothing but Spanish whilst I was there. Um, and then you get your teachers and everything. This like it's relevant because it carries an attitude over.
Mm,
A teacher's always telling you that you're not putting enough effort into your homework or this, but they didn't see the nights where I'd sit there for like 2 or 3 hours nearly every night. Some nights crying at my homework because I just couldn't grasp what I was trying to do. And you'd see everyone else in class just fly ahead of it and all these overachievers around you, and you're thinking like, what am I doing wrong? So I left school with that attitude,
mm,
like going to interviews, but I scaled down what I wanted to do. I didn't go to university because I didn't want the pressure of the exams. I didn't want to have to do all of that again. I went straight into the jobs market, but then, like
mm.
I said, lowered my expectations of what I was able to achieve because I believed what I was told in school.
Yeah. So it affected your
That's how
confidence.
massively. I mean, even now, from an exterior, even talking here, I might seem like I'm quite confident, to the point where some people have thought like I'm arrogant or cocky, but far from it. Like I think the amount of confidence I get, you could probably carry around in a little milliliter jar. Just, you know,
Yeah. So some of that's kind of still there to a certain extent.
yeah, it always sits there. And it wasn't. I only got diagnosed because my ex, of all the crud stuff that came out of there, one of the good things was that she actually said, because she was a teacher, she said, have you ever thought that you might have ADHD? And I was like, never even occurred to me. So I went through all the assessments with a psychiatrist over a couple of months, and they were like, yeah, you do. And as soon as they gave me the medication, I'm like, where was this when I was 15? This
Yeah.
could have made all the difference to my life.
Yeah. So I mean, you've mentioned like medication there as being something that's really helped. Um, what are the things that have kind of been that have sort of helped you to get through it? So medication, but other things as well.
Yeah, well, I think I'd say the biggest coping mechanisms I have now, I put in place when I was like maybe 11 or 12, because my dad had a massive music collection.
Yeah.
Um, so when I got frustrated, the easiest thing to do is just take a cassette. How old am I? Take a cassette off the tape
Yeah.
and then bang that and have a listen to it. So like I'd listen to stuff like Queen, even like ABBA and stuff, but there's certain things that stick in your mind. I remember listening to the Innuendo album. Sorry, not Innuendo. Not that it matters anyway. It's the Miracle, but but it's the and that music was like, oh, I like this. And then my mum clocked onto the fact that I was into music,
Yeah.
and she bought me the Lies album, Appetite for Destruction, Blow Up Your Video by AC/DC, and that set me on a path, because as soon as I started listening to it, I just felt super calm, and that was like that's where music came in. But when I can't do that, anything adrenaline based, as I started to get older, I started martial arts, kickboxing, Thai boxing, jiu-jitsu, blah, 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 right the way through. And in school, I played rugby. And because it was also a school that had NCO, the non-commissioned officer stuff, I joined the army cadre. And
Yeah.
that allowed me to learn how to shoot rifles and travel around with them and do that type of stuff. So anything adrenaline based that requires complete and utter focus. And as an adult, music, heavy lifting, and riding a motorbike are the three best things for me.
Okay. Cool.
Not at the same time.
No, no, no. That's although maybe music and lifting that probably goes together, doesn't that? I'd imagine. So, is there anything you'd want to say specifically about metal music? Because I guess that's kind of what's united us here for this video.
Yeah, it's because it's the genre. I love that word, of music that speaks the most, because you don't always have to hear the lyrics to feel the music. And this, stop me if I'm about to go off on one, but I do get like when I listen to any other music, I don't feel like they they're putting anything into it. You know, like it's just a formulaic way of putting a song together. But with any type of metal, like regardless of all the subgenres and stuff like that, everything seems they pour themselves into it. And I feel that in the music. So like the heavier it gets, the calmer I feel. And then a lot of the tunes I listen to, when you get into the lyrics and you hear the way that the things are sung, you believe it. Like at the time when you listen to it, like I said, you feel the music, you believe the lyrics, and you can identify with them, and that's it. That is exactly why that type of music sticks with me. It's a song for every occasion.
Yeah, absolutely.
My entire life, yeah, I have soundtracks for everything.
Okay.
Like throughout my day, I must listen to like 20 songs a day.
Yeah, that's cool. And maybe you might do a little bit of a playlist to go with this, fingers crossed. So that would be
I'll put one up on Spotify, like
cool.
insights into my ADHD.
Brilliant. Okay, so I think just before we kind of wrap it up, I guess one thing that would be kind of nice to finish on, I think, is if you were going to give somebody advice, maybe somebody who was, you know, a youngster going through like these things to start with, or a parent of somebody who's perhaps experiencing these things, what would you say to them, do you think?
I'd say embrace it, because it seems like it's a negative, and it does seem like the people are just acting up for the sake of it, but they're not. Because the one thing I haven't mentioned is the benefit of the hyper focus that comes with it. Once I find something I'm into, I feel like the entire world just disappears. I first like found it when I was listening to music, because everything just pinpoints. But it's the same. That was one of the reasons I changed my job, was because my coping mechanism was exercise. But I found that because of the way that I am, I can completely absorb myself into it. And it's the complete opposite of what you would associate. It's not a deficit of attention. It's complete and utter attention to that one thing. So don't just dismiss it as naughty kid behavior or think that there's only negatives to it. Encourage them to find something that they're into, no matter how weird it seems. Let them be themselves, no matter how antisocial it may seem or different to the norm, like the diversity of it all. Just let them flow with it, because if you give someone a chance to find something that they're into, then they can use this to their benefit. I have, through my jobs, like previous to this, it's helped me get promotions and awards. Not that I'm like a high achiever, but you know what I mean? Without this, I wouldn't be able to do what I do now. If I didn't have ADHD, I don't think I would be in such a good position. So it's got its positives and its negatives.
Yeah, I think that's a really good kind of place to finish it, really, is thinking about there are loads of positives as well, even though it's a kind of struggle and a challenge at times. So that's that's really cool.
Yeah, and just be aware that like if you are feeling like this, that your emotions will be amplified. So not only will you be over enthusiastic about something that really doesn't matter that much, you will also be really, really annoyed and upset over something that is completely inconsequential, and it'll take over your entire thought pattern for months, for me, years. There's certain stupid things that stick in my head that I think about at 3 a.m. and go, oh, remember that? No, I don't want to remember it. So that's, just remember, you'll be amplified. Everything is amplified.
Yeah.
And you talk.
And that can probably come with good and bad things, I would imagine. That's like, you know, feeling things quite intensely.
Yeah, it means that like when I'm enjoying something, I really am. So like if I'm training and I'm really getting into it, I'll just be buzzing for days over. Like I could do one deadlift and that will just keep me going. I'm like, yes, love it. But then equally, I could do something like snap a string on my ukulele and that'll last like 2 months. And I'm like, oh, bugger.
I'm still angry about that ukulele. Okay. Right. I think, have we missed anything, or do you think that is that good? Do you think? Are we good? Speak now.
No, I think that's pretty much or forever hold my peace. Yeah, it's just I'm doing what one of my traits is, compels to fill the silence.
Okay.
You're gonna